Hello and a very warm welcome to all of you. This is Game On and I am Neha Bhardwaj. It's a double-header day this Saturday with Australia taking on Bangladesh in Pune and Pakistan will face England in Kolkata at the Eden Gardens. Pakistan need to bat first and win this game by 287 runs. There are lots of permutations and combinations. People have been talking about it, but it is not going to be a simple, straightforward, easy equation. Maybe, just maybe, if Fakhar Zaman ends up scoring a double 100, Iftikhar Ahmed scores 100 or 50 deliveries, just maybe this might be possible. Chetan Narula and Jamie Alter are here with us and they will just say that we hope that England win the toss and they bat first and just put paid to all these permutations and combinations, as cynical as they are. Yes, Jamie?
Yes, absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. There's no chance. I mean, I think this match actually does go beyond the realm of those mathematically possible situations, despite there being mathematical combinations. Yes, there are. No one is denying that there are no mathematical chances, but just look at those chances, right? Absolutely insane, improbable, whatever word you want to use to describe the situation. And once again, Pakistan does, like it has before, finds itself in this unreal situation. Perhaps the most unreal or improbable they have found themselves. But again, it just shows a pattern that for the last 20 years, why this team has routinely struggled to make the semifinals. I think 2011 was the only time since 2003 that they've actually made the semifinals, you know? No, sorry, not even then. It was 99 and then 2011. So there you go. In 24 years, they've just got there once. So it just shows where their cricket stands, how they often don't get selection right, in fighting, whatever you want to give. The bottom line is that Pakistan were just not equipped to compete against various teams in this World Cup.
That's right, and nor were England, who they are facing today, defending champions, just had the worst tournament. To think that this is an end of an era for this English white ball team, Chetan, for having dominated for that long and, you know, somewhat changed the whole what would you say, landscape of white ball cricket. You've got to give credit to them, but here they are at this moment, the worst team as defending champions in a tournament. And of course, they'd want to, you know, end with a win, but this just, I've never seen any team like England, any defending champions go to this level of being bad.
Well, hello, Meha. I think you give them a little too much credit, you know, changing the landscape of. The only landscape they changed was their own cricket. ODI cricket was already being played that way everywhere else in the world. They hadn't caught up. England hadn't caught up. They didn't know how to play ODI cricket. So for 4 years, they decided, okay, you know what, we will play ODI cricket the way the rest of the world plays ODI cricket. And because the World Cup was happening in England, it gave them a bit of an advantage. They tried to mess it up, but were unsuccessful. But even then, ended up being champions on boundary count. So not the best champions in any manner of winning or losing or defending their crown. Josh Butler will go down in history in terms of that statement that he put out. We are not here to defend anything. Absolutely right, my friend. You were not here to defend absolutely anything. And, you know, yeah, the worst defending champions in the history of World Cups. Sri Lanka could not qualify for the next stage. They had won only 2 games out of 5 in 99. Prior to that, Australia in 92, they lost a few games. So yeah, England, worst defending champions ever.
I would think it's easier to kick somebody when they're down, and they really are down and out. And I do think that they, coming into this tournament, you on this show had said that they were one of the favorites. In fact, one of the favorites to win this this tournament. So yes, they looked good before coming in, but that that campaign just completely collapsed. Okay, so let's set this up. Today's second match, there's one match already on. So second match, that's in Kolkata. Pakistan face an improbable scenario to knock New Zealand off that 4th place and enter the semi-finals. Bat first, and Pakistan have to win by at least 287 runs. Bowl first, and they have to keep England to 50 and then chase that in 2 overs. So that'll be completely unrealistic stuff. So which just underlines how poor Pakistan have been at this World Cup, and how being bowled out by Netherlands and then losing to Afghanistan hurt their chances of making the Final Four. England, we all know, we were just discussing this, they've just won 2 of their 8 matches, and the best that they can hope for is to beat Pakistan today to finish in the top 8 and thus qualify for the 2025 Champions Trophy. That's a smiling Jos Buttler, and the only time he would have smiled in this tournament, because he has been completely out of it. His personal form, one of the reasons he believes has been instrumental in England's downfall. The only way England could fall out of the top 8 for this Champions Trophy qualification is if they lose to Pakistan today, and then Bangladesh beat Australia and India lose to Netherlands tomorrow. Unlikely, given for how poor the defending champions have been with the bat. So then, gentlemen, let's just get back to talking about this. Jos Buttler's form, one of the big talking points for anyone who's been following English cricket. How does one explain this complete lack of form, lack of confidence in Jos Buttler? Jamie?
It's a head scratcher. We've discussed on past shows about Jos Buttler's experience in India. Mainly the IPL has not played that much white ball cricket, but when you've consistently put up 500, 600 runs, as an opener for an IPL franchise, before that he had some success with Mumbai Indians, he doesn't lack for experience of playing in India, I think just like many players of his stature, the captaincy has not really sat well with him. He sort of inherited Eoin Morgan's team, but he's not Eoin Morgan. He's a far better batsman than Eoin Morgan, but Eoin Morgan obviously was streets ahead of him when it came to handling people, to inspiring them. So there's the tactician part of Jos Buttler's captaincy. And I think, frankly, the sample size was too small. He's barely been in the job for what? A year and a half, 2 years? It cannot be more than that. And I don't think they've actually done so much. I think they beat Netherlands. They're the first team that came within striking distance of getting to 500. I believe 498 remains the highest total in men's ODIs. No surprises that it came from the team that Jos Buttler had inherited from Eoin Morgan. Jason Roy was there, David Malan, Phil Salt. I think Buttler also got 100. But again, that's Netherlands. And after that, I think predominantly whatever they've won under Jos Buttler has been a few sporadic series here and there. So this was, by all accounts, the biggest test for Jos Buttler. And clearly he's not been fit for the job. Chetan's mentioned the fact that, maybe he's languishing a bit too low at number 5. But again, where do you fit him in? Okay, Johnny Bairstow has been abysmal in this World Cup. But coming into this World Cup, Johnny Bairstow had tremendous stats as an opener. So you are not going to drop him down. We can go back to Malan versus Root. We can go back to, why Ben Stokes who was called back. Whatever it is, most matches, and I don't remember all the matches off the top of my head, whenever Jos Buttler came into bat, the situation was sort of tricky. This is not a license for Jos Buttler to start hitting. He had to graft. And I think just the captaincy weighed in on him. He seemed like a very chilled out, very soft-spoken guy. Maybe not the right man for the captaincy. I don't have the stats. I don't know his past record where he's captained domestically, franchise-wise. I'm willing to bet he was never seen as a leader. So maybe he was the wrong person in hindsight to be made the captain. I read a statement that he hopes to, after a discussion with Rob Key, he hopes to be there for the West Indies. I don't think they should give in, because to my mind, clearly, like Sachin Tendulkar, he's just not a natural fit for the captaincy. So, and then you come to the fact that he's not scored runs. To me, in terms of failures for a team which came into a World Cup with so much, I would have to go back to 2003. Pakistan were led by Inzamam Ulaq. They were a good one-day team. They were losing finalists 4 years ago. They had an abysmal run. They won 2 of, I think, 8 matches, and Inzamam averaged about 4.3 in that World Cup. So for a comparison, from expectation point of wise, Jos Buttler comes right up there with Inzamam Ulaq 20 years ago.
I also wonder how much of Ben Stokes coming in and being this spiritual figure, being this person, who's a leader but not officially a leader, taking probably some of those decisions for this team, how much does that impact someone like a Jos Buttler, who's actually the captain of this side? But then these are all theories that all of us want to talk about because they're not doing so well. Let's talk about Babar Azam's campaign as well. Last match of the tournament, but Chetan, he's flattered to deceive as well, because you would expect Babar Azam to score some big runs. He's got 450s in this tournament out of the 8 matches that he's played. But he's got some, he's got 282 runs. But at times when the team needed him to play a big knock, to maybe score 100 to get them out of trouble, he hasn't been able to do that. So he's been just as disappointing as the whole Pakistan team.
I think he's been a bigger disappointment in that sense, because when Pakistan came to the World Cup, they came on the basis of the fact that they had one of the top batsmen in world cricket in their ranks. And the whole conversation around Babar Azam was that Indian fans should be so lucky to watch Babar Azam score those hundreds and big runs and take Pakistan to new heights. He was compared with Virat Kohli and the rest of the Indian batsmen as to what he can potentially achieve. That has stayed potentially. I mean, we haven't seen those runs. Yes, 4 half centuries, but those half centuries haven't really done too much for Pakistan. I mean, you look at the half century he scored against India. He got out at the most crucial time, really. I mean, that's where Pakistan should really have built and pushed India or backed India into a corner, put them under pressure, but they were not able to do so. So those half centuries have come perhaps to his own benefit, really. That, okay, he's done something, not like Inzamam or Joss Butler, as Jamie was talking about. So he's done something, that he's not really commanded that dressing room, whether by runs or by captaincy. And, Pakistan cricket is such a phenomenon, if I can say so, that if your captain is not leading from the front and there are continuous losses, it does go to pieces. And then that's what we precisely saw, what really happened there. Too much comedy, if I can say so, regarding Babar Azam's captaincy, the dressing room, this, that. Mickey Arthur, oh my God. I mean, look, I had a lot of respect for Mickey Arthur, but if this is the way he coaches, complaining about everything, complaining, I'm not sure where he ranks in terms of coaching. He's not even a full-time head coach for Pakistan. He coaches them via Zoom or online from England, and he only comes over for the tougher tasks like the World Cup. But again, the performance is not there. So overall, Babar Azam hasn't benefited from Mickey Arthur. He hasn't benefited from the environment that is there in the Pakistan dressing room. The Pakistan dressing room hasn't benefited from Babar Azam's individual run scoring. So there is no surprise that Pakistan is languishing in this impossible situation today.
Yeah, and which is where they were in the last World Cup. But yes, Babar Azam, he talks about the critics, and he's seen many in this World Cup, where he says it's very easy to give opinion on TV. He says, if someone wishes to offer advice, they are welcome to call me directly. My number is known to everyone. Now, this is exactly, he's taken a leaf out of Virat Kohli's book. That's exactly what Virat Kohli had said when he was going through a bad patch. And he was referring to Indian former greats who were talking about his form. And similarly, I can take a guess, Jamie, that he's referring to some of those former greats who come on that show, which is actually a good show. You said you were watching it yesterday, The Pavilion in Pakistan. But it didn't get easy for Babar Azam, as the tournament progressed, with all that was unfolding with Pakistan Cricket Board, their denials over things, their inquiries into why Pakistan are not playing well, lots of things. And then, of course, critics coming out and talking about him. It didn't get easier. And clearly that seemed to have had an impact, not just on him, but the whole team.
Oh, absolutely. So let's just quickly, for the benefit of our viewers, let's recap the situation facing Babar Azam's team before they showed up. There was BCCI versus PCB. There was the hybrid model of the Asia Cup being approved, but they weren't happy. There was excuses of, we had to travel from Pallekele to Colombo to Lahore to back in a span of 4 days. There was all that. There was Naseem Shah's injury. There was pre-World Cup claims and cries from the PCB about security, about travel, about visas for fans, for team, shifting the game out of Chennai. Then the team arrived. They got that wonderful reception or welcome, if you want to call it, in Hyderabad. Practice matches. I think unlike other teams, they had both their practice matches. Things seemed okay, but then they started to lose. like I said a couple shows ago, or yesterday was it, that they being bowled out against the Netherlands ended up hurting their net run rate, and then losing to Afghanistan ended up hurting them. We discussed 1.5 bowlers, 2.5 batsmen, zero spinners, some political statements from players on the pitch, on social media, some keyboard warriors from the Pakistan media setup, from the Pakistan PCB, from the players. It just all adds up to a team, like I've said, which was not equipped to come here and play cricket. If you're not good enough, you're purely relying on your skill, your batting, your bowling, your fielding, and the toss to win you matches. Babar Azam made 3 terrible decisions. There's all the political statements, the political pressure. Mohammad Rizwan making statements. All that just adds on top of a person who does not look like he's maybe the best leader for this team. And like Chetan said, with Pakistan teams, 2-3 things don't add up, and then things just go to pieces. So that's what we're seeing. But I will still say that why they're weak is because they picked the wrong 15, and the majority of this 15 has been picked because of success in one country against weaker teams. And unfortunately, like Sri Lanka found out, that's not enough to consistently play with the best in the business.
Okay, so Babar Azam's the pressure of captaincy is something that he has addressed in that press conference. He says, I've been captaining my team for the last 3 years. I've never felt this way. It's just because I've not performed the way I should have in the World Cup. That's why people are saying that I'm under pressure. I don't think I was under any pressure or felt any different because of this. So clearly, I mean, this is something that he has been thinking about as well. He says, I try to give my best in the field during the fielding, during batting, I think about how I should make runs and make the team win. That's one. Then he talks about his captaincy further. He says about the captaincy, he says, as I said, once we go back to Pakistan or after this match, we will see what happens. But right now, I'm not focusing on this. My focus is on the next match. So there is no clarity on Babar Azam's future as well after this tournament is over. Will he remain the captain? Will they go with another captain? That's something that we'll get to know in the days to come. But the pressure has been on him. Now let's talk about what one can expect, Chetan, if the teams win toss today. What are you expecting, especially from England? Would they just say, you know what, let's just get them out of this whole, let's not play this game with them. Let's just bat first, or just bat first anyway?
I mean, England are playing for themselves. I mean, this is probably the last time you're going to see a lot of these players play ODI cricket. I'm not sure if Ben Stokes is going to be around playing ODI cricket after this. I don't think Joe Root is going to be part of it. You look at a couple of their bowlers. Moeen Ali, he's been retiring in, retiring out. I'm not sure he's going to be part of it. Adil Rashid, he's a white ball expert, but again, how much ODI cricket is he going to play? So we'll probably see a bit of a reboot from England. This is probably the last time a few of these players are going to be part of England's ODI setup. So they need to think of what is best for English cricket at the moment. And for that is to qualify for the 2025 Champions Trophy. For them, qualification is on the line for that. And yes, they can depend on other results, this and that, but you would want to finish the tournament with a win. You don't want to go home saying that we only beat, a couple of teams which were not good enough, to be compared to English cricket. So they would want to do what is best for them, and what's best for them is to bat first. We've seen the Kolkata pitches can be a bit slow under lights. The Pacers can have some good effect. The only game that it didn't work out that way was Bangladesh versus Pakistan, and I'm not going to judge that pitch based on that game alone, because Bangladesh, as we know, have been seriously underperforming throughout this tournament. So from that aspect, I think England would like to bat first, irrespective of what Pakistan needs to do. I think they will look to their own game. And it's similar for Pakistan as well. I mean, a lot of their Pakistan players will be culled after this. I think this is the last time we're seeing Babar Azam as Pakistan captain, especially in the ODI format. I'm sure about that. So, yeah, let's see how it works out.
Okay, this is what David Malan had to say about this England team's campaign. He says, the sport changes quickly. it has a way of biting you in the backside. It creeps up on you quite quickly. We're so disappointed in the fact that we're here playing against Pakistan at Eden Gardens and we're not in the race for it. It's disappointing. He says, but we still have a lot to play for. We still have the Champions Trophy. I don't know if we have actually qualified for that or not, but we still need to put in a good performance and leave with a bit of pride because it is hurting. So this is what he said. We've spoken about Jos Buttler and his lack of form, Babar Azam's struggle, Jamie. But if you just talk about their bowling, which has been one of, there are similarities in how both their campaigns, Pakistan and England's campaign, have gone downhill, which is because of how bad their bowling was throughout the tournament. Both these teams have struggled with their bowling.
Yeah, they've struggled, and I think Pakistan's bowling is far worse because the hype with which they came into this World Cup. England's bowlers, to be fair, didn't come into this World Cup with any hype. It was the combined efforts of the spinners, pacers, the tactical moves they made. You mentioned how they've changed the landscape of cricket, and then the batting. I don't think anyone really came into this World Cup maybe fearing England's bowlers. Mark Wood has pace. We know what he can do. He took 5 wickets in an IPL match, and then Adil Rashid remains someone who's just so underrated in both their one-day success and the T20 success. Pakistan, despite Naseem Shah not being here, there was talk about Afridi and Rauf and all this stuff. So from that aspect, I think England's bowlers have been better because they've at least bowled out teams a couple more times than this Pakistan team has, And England, barring that one match when South Africa at the Wankhede just barely got to 400, they've not been as bad. Where they've been worse, if you want to compare the two departments, is the batting. Because we mentioned when Jos Buttler is averaging, I don't know, he must be averaging 10, 11 just to guess. Johnny Beresford's probably averaging around the same. I think David Malan is their leading run getter by some. Ben Stokes, I think he must be second because he's had 3 good matches. The first few matches he wasn't there, he came back. It's not been a Ben Stokes kind of World Cup. So whenever they go back, and I'm sure they'll probably be flying out tomorrow, knowing England, they can at least say a couple batsmen and a couple bowlers did stand up. What is Pakistan going to have to look back at? One very good bowling effort from Shaheen Afridi on a flat Bangalore track, and one Mohammad Rizwan 100. Of course, Fakhar Zaman is there. So, but again, given the uncertainty or the lack of opportunities he had, he's probably going to look at that personally as a rather bittersweet World Cup. So, I don't know. I think Pakistan, to me, despite them being now I think 3 places higher now that England's won a couple matches, but to me, Pakistan collectively have been worse than England because at least England came here. I had them in my top 4. I think Chetan also had them in his top 4. So did you. So from that aspect, yes, utterly disappointed. And I think a lot of my frustration and criticism of England is how I misread them. But man to man, I would still say, despite being lower in the standings and despite having, like we discussed, the worst run for any defending champion, I would still say England did more things right than Pakistan got right.
Okay. Jos Buttler's averaging 13.87 in this tournament. He scored 111 runs. And there are a lot of players, surprisingly, who are above him. Players like Pat Cummins, Chris Wokes, who scored more runs than him. Marco Jansen, many more runs. So yes, it has been a terrible campaign for him. Let's talk about the match from last night. In their final group stage match, South Africa took themselves to 14 points by defeating Afghanistan by 5 wickets, just ensuring they will go into the semi-finals in the second position on the standings. Set a target of 245 after Azmatullah Omarzai. He fell 3 runs short of a maiden ODI century. South Africa were in a spot of bother when their 5th wicket fell with the score at 189. But Rassie van der Dussen, he scored 76 not out while putting on 65 with Andil Peklukwayo, who hit a vital 39 not out with 3 sixes. He was playing his first game of the tournament. Despite 2 losses in a row, Afghanistan ended their tournament with a personal best record at ODI World Cups with 4 victories, as well as a place at the 2025 Champions Trophy. They will, however, rue not putting on a further 20 runs given the way Omarzai batted for his 97 not out, which saw the young all-rounder hit 7 fours and 3 sixes. Gerald Coetzee, back in the 11, claimed 4 wickets for 44, his best performance to become South Africa's all-time leading wicket-taker in a single World Cup, while Quinton de Kock held 6 catches behind the stumps to equal the record for most wicket-keeping dismissals in a World Cup match. So there were records shattered, but what they couldn't shatter is that feeling that when they are chasing, you can beat them. They're easily beatable. If Afghanistan can do that, imagine what will happen when they play against Australia. So that particular feeling remains with South Africa, and yesterday, if only they'd scored 20 more runs and another wicket, things could get so messy for them, Chetan.
I don't know. I look at it the other way. I think South Africa ticked off that thing that, mentally, obviously, if it comes down to the semi-final, when they win the toss in the semi-final, they will want to bat first. But they would have wanted to tick that off, that we did get a chase in this tournament. So from that perspective, I thought, I think it was not a very nervy chase. Yes, if Afghanistan had 20 more runs, but then South Africa restricted them to 244. We can go back to the fact that, okay, maybe it's not the easiest to inspire yourself when you're not playing for anything. You're already in the semi-final, etc., etc. So from that aspect, I thought Rassie van der Dussen was not at all nervous. He wanted to just be there for his side and take them across the line. I do want to say that South Africa are playing at least one batsman short, if not 2 batsmen short. I mean, David Miller, I've never really seen him do anything. I've always heard David Miller ne ye kiya, David Miller ne wo kiya. But whenever I switch on the television, he absolutely does nothing. But Temba Bavuma, I mean, they have Reza Hendricks. I know Jamie will throw some stats at me and say, okay, you know what, they'll have the same numbers in the last 30 matches. But no, he's just not good enough. If he had a purple patch before the World Cup, that's okay. And the thing is, you don't pick a captain and then pick the rest of the team. You pick a captain who commands a place in the playing 11. And look, he may be very likable, he may be very funny, he may be a good fielder, but he's not a good batsman. He's not. Is he performing at the same level as Quinton de Kock is performing, or Aiden Markram is performing, or Hendrik Klaassen is performing, or Rassie van der Dussen is performing? No, he's not. They have been the premier batsman for South Africa. I mean, South Africa in every game are 20 for 1, 30 for 1, 40 for 1. You don't see anything coming from Temba Bavuma. Even yesterday, he was struggling to get going. So, and in this tournament, we've seen a pattern where your top 3 have to set a base for your middle order to perform. And their middle order has been performing without that base, or that base has just come from Quinton de Kock or from Quinton de Kock and Rassie van der Dussen. Temba Bavuma has been absent. And if he was not there, South Africa would not miss him, be it captaincy, be it batting. We've seen that. There's evidence of that. Aiden Markram is more than capable now, and Reza Hendricks did a capable enough job against England. So I just don't know.
There's a possibility he might not be there. There's a possibility. He injured himself. He injured himself, and he still was there in the middle. And in fact, I think Rassie van der Dussen was asked after the match, why was he there? Shouldn't he be available for the semi-finals? And he said that he wanted to be there in the middle with his team. But yeah, he's got a hamstring issue. It might be a blessing in disguise.
That'll be a positive for South Africa.
Jamie, do you agree though with Chetan that, they would not look at it as a nervy chase? Because I felt like they really did dig themselves into a hole. Even Rassie van der Dussen, he scrapped his way through the 76. And if he, PAK would have gone. He was playing his first game. If he would have gone, I don't know, South Africa could have been in trouble.
So 50-50, okay? I agree with Chetan that they got another tricky chase out of the way. Massive positive, and it's not a coincidence that PAK comes in and plays that, because he's not gotten a chance. He doesn't have the baggage of a previous choke, so he can play. And sometimes when you bring in that fresh set of legs, that new vision, that new blood, you do get something positive, right? But once again, and for me again, this is just the bigger picture. There were enough signs in the dismissals yesterday that this team will never ever chased more than 260 in a World Cup. I said it before, and lovely to see that the host broadcaster put a package of Quinton de Kock's four idiotic, if I can use that word, dismissals when set. I said it before the World Cup starts. He might get hundreds, but in a crunch situation, he's going to bring out this daft reverse sweep, and he did it again yesterday. So yes, he's got 500 plus runs. Yes, he's broken the record for South Africa. In a World Cup, he's got 400s. But Quinton de Kock, like all previous abject South African chasers, still suffers from that disease. He might be on 39, he might be on 139. But at the end of the day, he will play a shot when the pressure is amped up that is going to let the team down. We saw it yesterday. Tema Bavuma, I'm not even going to give any importance. Chetan has accurately summed up. This team will not make it. He will be held the scapegoat when they lose to Australia in the semi-final. Rassie van der Dusen, again, two classy innings back-to-back. But it was not long ago in the match against Netherlands. The guy who doesn't reverse sweep, he brought it out and gave a catch straight to backward point. Question marks. Aiden Markram. I praise Aiden Markram. I singled out his 89.
Was a terrible shot to get
what
out
shot was that? He has lost 50% of his whatever he had in my estimation. You don't do that. You're a nation that chokes like no other team chokes, and you're playing that shot. Chetan, David Miller, I cannot say it. I've heard he's done great things. I remember some 20 years ago or whatever it was, 10 years ago, in the V, in the tree, in the park. That's great. I have not seen David Miller missing, edging, sweeping, mistiming, chopping a catch, pushing a catch back. There was enough suggestion, despite the fact that, yes, they would have ticked off several boxes. Another 25 runs. You think Keshav Maharaj and Shamsi are going to win you 2 matches in a World Cup? Absolutely not. This team is going to combust if Australia put up more than 260 at Eden Gardens.
I just keep coming back to how things would have changed for Afghanistan had they won that first game against Bangladesh, Chetan. And even yesterday, the game that they played, if they'd got, I know there are ifs and buts, and that's when you talk about it, but they came so close. And that's what has been so wonderful about their campaign. If only Mujibur Rahman had caught that Maxwell catch, on 33, things would have been different. That's how good this team has been.
No, absolutely. I mean, ifs and buts and conjecture is always there, and it's good because we have to fill up minutes in the show and everything. And
that's not the reason why we're talking about Afghanistan. We genuinely have been appreciative of this team, and they deserve all the accolades. Yes.
No, I agree with you. Conjecture is important in cricket discussions. But what a friend of mine tweeted yesterday, and I thought it was a really good tweet. He said, given how Afghanistan has played, the upset of the tournament was Bangladesh beating Afghanistan. So that was absolutely true. And Afghanistan will probably look back at that game and say, okay, you know what? Maybe we should have started batting better from the first game itself. And I think that encapsulates where Afghanistan is right now. I mean, yesterday's game. Again, I differ, with what you said. I think Afghanistan were brought into the game solely by Rashid Khan. And Rashid Khan was able to do that because he was playing at an adoptive home ground, you can say. So, he plays a lot of cricket in the IPL at the Narendra Modi Stadium. The crowd was cheering for him. He was putting on a show for them. And it's good to see because that is a driving factor for cricketers around the world, where they're playing, how the crowd supports them. So yesterday, Afghanistan were in the game because of what Rashid Khan was doing. He was putting up a show, really. And that is where Afghanistan cricket is at. Their bowling is really good. Their batting is starting to grow. I mean, they need more consistency in their batting, and that has to come from game one. I think if that's the biggest learning lesson for Afghanistan from this World Cup, it's their fielding, which I don't think they're doing their basics right. I think their fielding is letting them down. I think they need to hire some really good experts who can help them get the basics right. These players play a lot of T20 cricket across the world, but it's shockingly bad when it comes to fielding. But overall, as a unit, I think when they go to the next big tournament, maybe they could invest in somebody, who can mentor them, or in a fielding coach who is good enough, not just part of your average coaching staff, not part of Jonathan Trott's coaching staff, but maybe somebody like a Jonty Rhodes, or somebody who can really give them the basics of fielding better. I think that's somewhere they're really lacking. But overall, kudos to Afghanistan. What a fantastic tournament they've had, and like I said, maybe they will spring a few more surprises in the T20 World Cup next year.
Okay, so now let's come back to the match between Pakistan and England. And England have won the toss. They have opted to bat. So there you go. Jos Buttler at the toss saying, we are going to bat first. Looks a good wicket, looks dry. We're going with the same team today. Kudrat ka nizam is over then. That's not what Jos Buttler said. That's just me saying. We are playing well together and would look to do justice to ourselves. This is what Jos Buttler said. Babar Azam at the toss said we wanted to bat first, but toss is not in our hands. We've got good bowlers, and we would look to bowl them out cheaply. We have one change. Hassan Ali is not playing, and Shadab Khan comes in his place, and rightfully so, given the slow nature of the pitch there at the Eden Gardens. But yes, England have won the toss. They have opted to bat first against Pakistan in their last league game. Pakistan have made one change where Hassan Ali is sitting out. He's missing out on this one, and Shadab Khan comes back in his place. Jamie?
Yep, that's the best possible thing to happen, not just for any team, but for this match and for all discussion around it. There was that, I'll say it again, mathematical probability, but it was so absurd that at least Jos Buttler winning the toss and saying we're going to bat has just removed all such doubt. And now let's just get back to what this match is. England's final chance to qualify or to stay in the top 7, top 8 for the Champions Trophy. And again, this is the last time we're going to see any semblance of that core of the 2019 World Cup together. Ben Stokes won't be around 4 years from now. Moeen Ali will not be around 4 years from now. Jos Buttler might be as a player. Joe Root is only 32, surprising. He might still be around as a player, but again, like Chetan has always said, it wouldn't be the best idea to pursue
not in white ball cricket.
Exactly. No, the Brits are strange when it comes to revering their all format greats. So if there's one thing would not surprise me, it is Joe Root. Joe Root has to score about 15 Test hundreds in the next 3 years, which he'll do, and he'll be around. That would not surprise me. But again, Champions Trophy qualification, something very, very strange. Sounds weird to even say it for the umpteenth time that an England team has to qualify for something. They've been so brilliant in their own white ball cricket. I'm sure a lot of them are already wondering, forget about the tour to the West Indies. We have a T20 World Cup crown to defend. How abject have we been here? Maybe it's already playing, because I think we've discussed on this show, England, when they arrived in India in early 2021, the coach was it Silverwood back then? It was Silverwood. He was already talking about the Ashes, and then when the team went to play somewhere else, they were talking about the World Cup. So they never look at what's at their doorstep. They're trying to see what is being packaged in an Amazon factory, a week down the line. They're always looking at something else. And I think it's their obsession with the Ashes mainly, the obsession with Test cricket. It has just sort of left them, with all due respect to what Chetan's saying about the 100. It's this thing about Ashes is the biggest thing, So they probably will lose the Ashes the next time around in Australia. But right now, I'm just very keen to see what in this final ODI of this current World Cup squad, who performs and who doesn't. And I think they will win today. I think Pakistan are just, now that they've lost the toss, they've lost whatever momentum they had, all that Kudrat ka nizam, mambo jumbo. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, so that's the playing 11 for England, where they've gone unchanged. Pakistan have made one change so there is England playing 11. The good thing is that Jos Buttler likes to play against Pakistan. He's got a good average. I think he averages above 50 against Pakistan. So hopefully he'll do something for England today. Pakistan playing 11, let's put that up as well. Just one change there. They've gone in with the spin of Shadab Khan. Just as well, when I start speaking about the playing 11, that's been taken off. Okay, let's then get to talking about another bit of news. In another news, the ICC yesterday suspended Sri Lanka cricket with immediate effect in light of the Sri Lankan government's interference in cricket administration in the country. On Monday, Sri Lanka's Sports Ministry dismissed the SLC board and replaced it with an interim committee headed by the 1996 World Cup winning skipper Arjuna Ranatunga, only for the move to be stayed the following day by Sri Lanka's Court of Appeal. These actions were taken as the Sri Lankan team continued to underwhelm at the World Cup, where they managed to win just 2 of their 9 games and sit at the second last position on the points table. This means that Sri Lanka are unlikely to qualify for the Champions Trophy. When taking the action to suspend SLC, the ICC said in a statement, the ICC board met today and determined that Sri Lanka cricket is in serious breach of its obligations as a member, in particular the requirement to manage its affairs autonomously and ensure that there is no government interference in the governance, regulation and/or administration of cricket in Sri Lanka. The conditions of the suspension will be decided by the ICC board in due course. So that's the other bit of news. Now we have another match to discuss, and I also have a quick one on France cricket. We've been wanting to take this story, and finally I've got some time, so I'm going to talk about this. It's a shocking story and you all need to know it. In a year where we've seen cricket being included in Los Angeles Olympics, France cricket was allegedly staging fake games to show its commitment to women's cricket in trying to get funding from the ICC. The allegations were made by France 24, a channel there, after a former French women's international and member of the board, Tracy Rodriguez, first uncovered what turned out to be phantom games. She went to grounds where matches were supposed to be taking place but found no activity. She said 2 or 3 times there, I went there, people were having picnics with kids cycling around at the time of the game. This is what she told France 24. Then the day after, I would see the results of the game online. France 24 did the same thing. They attended the matches where they were supposed to be played, only to find that no games were taking place. They went to a ground north of Paris to watch a women's second division game, did not see it take place. 3 days later, France Cricket rubber stamped the match as having taken place and posted the results on the website. The ICC now, on its part, it's saying that it's taking the allegation seriously and is expected to begin an investigation into the issue. This is absolutely crazy to think that this is happening in France. Chetan, your reaction to this? And not only are you staging these fake games, you've got results. I wonder what the results would be like.
You know, these reports should be thrown in the faces of the people who question the BCCI when it asks for more money, which is actually BCCI is right when it takes a fair share from the ICC's earnings. They say, oh, BCCI is cheating people, BCCI is cheating associate nations. What are the associate nations doing? Are they trying to build a game, or are they just trying to cheat the coffers of the ICC, which is now very, very apparent? You want to grow the game? Yes, you take the money, but this is not fair. I mean, I would really want to question those same people who question where the BCCI, which is bringing 90%, more than 90%, in fact, of the ICC's TV rights money for the next 4 years. The Indian territory alone is worth $3 billion. It's unimaginable where these people have the gall to question the BCCI when its share goes up from 36 to 40%, just 36 to 40%, and not more than that, really. So it's just it's sad to see what the cricket authority in France is trying to do. Yeah. But yes, I mean, if you want to grow the game, then actually try and grow it properly and not do this sham, to be honest.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm completely out of time, but I do need to take the result of the other match that's going on in Pune between Australia and Bangladesh. And Bangladesh have given Australia something to think about, Jamie. 262 for 5. What are we looking at? Can there be an upset on the cards?
Look, I mean, this is Bangladesh's last match. They've been very, very poor. If they can get to, I mean, look, I mean, totals here can be chased down. Australia were put on under the mat. I think it just depends where they end up. They should easily get to 3-5 from here, 3-10 maybe. Maybe that one bad over comes and they get to 3-20. If it gets in the realm of 3-15, 3-20, Bangladesh, despite no Shakib, they could really put Australia under the pump, because you don't have to do much in grounds like Pune under the lights. You just land the ball in the right area. Travis Head and David Warner are both coming off poor matches. There's enough doubt in that Australian team that, hey, we slipped to 91 for 7. There's no match for today. Let's get that out of the way. So yeah, if it's 295, 300, 305, I still think Australia have the might, but that psychological extra 15 runs that come. So yeah, I think they should get to 315, 320 from here.
267 for 5 and 44 overs. If they get to 300 and I don't know, 20, 30, it's game on, right? It'll be difficult for Australia, but I'm out of time, guys, I've got to wrap this up. You want to quickly predict this game?
Anything above 300 in Australia will find it tough to chase. We spoke about South Africa yesterday, but I think Australia, when chasing, has also been a bit under the pump. We saw in the last game. So yeah, I think it'll be tough to chase, and South Africa will be very, very interested. I don't really care about the England-Pakistan game.
Jamie? Jamie?
Sorry, I lost the word. You asked me about this total or the next match?
Huh? What
You're asking me about England-Pakistan or what's happening here?
Here.
As I said, I think they'll get to 320.
Okay. With that, time for us to wrap this up. That's it on the special. Hope you have a good day, a day before Diwali. Enjoy, celebrate, be with your loved ones. Watch the cricket that's going to be on the next 2 days. We'll, of course, join you tomorrow at 1 o'clock on the day of Diwali. For now, goodbye. Thanks for watching.
Literally every major power in the world is gearing up with its own digital currency. And so is India. But India's UPI has taken digital transactions to the next level. So with UPI already available,